Let's talk about the new ship. That's our big purchase item, right? And they've already sold thousands of these things. As of about 5 o'clock today, they were about 4,000 ships had already been sold in the first, 5 hours? The NDA content creators, as part of their agreement with Scopely to promise to say very positive things about all of their new content, were given them. I'm not on that group, so I was not given one, and I'm okay with that. So here we go. Here's our new ship, the Vindicator, which kind of gets some weird slack. The way that these fins look a little on the side, it kind of reminds you of like a TIE fighter. The way the body in here looks, it kind of reminds you of, some people have said, a Transformer. Some people have said a Gundam. I've thought it looked a lot like the drop ship from the movie Aliens that they go down to the planet in. Then you start looking at it from the side, and you see all these weird, basically look like little plugs. You want to just plug stuff in, and it's a power strip. And then you spin it all the way around to the back here, and you kind of look at it, and it just looks mad, right? Here's just it's making an evil, angry face staring at you, like, what are you looking at? And it's kind of weird. It's a little weird. What does this particular ship do? Well, its active ability boosts weapon damage when you're hit by the Armada. So some people have called it to, like, this is the Sarcophagus 2.0, right? The Sarcophagus was supposed to go on the capture nodes and territory capture and just, suck up all the damage and do these very high damage only in that very specific circumstance. This particular ship has this taunt ability. And its cooldown, where basically it draws all the fire to itself. So especially if it's like PvP or a lot of other games, right? You play in World of Warcraft, you're going to raid a dungeon, and you've got your tank up front. The boss is just beating on the tank, and you got the dude behind him just throwing the heals, and then everybody else is, fireball, fireball, fireball until you kill the thing. That's kind of what this is now supposed to be. 4 players, G5. If you're G5 rare and up, I don't see much value here for you unless you're trying to help out lower players in your alliance. Like, you would take this so that way they could, you're not stealing as much of the loot, you're just absorbing a lot of the damage, keeping your power numbers down instead of taking like a 500 million ship and just stealing all the loot from the Armada, which seems like a really specific set of circumstances and not overly ideal. Maybe somewhere in the future we'll have different armadas that this ability might be more useful, but I'm not thrilled with it. And I don't think for players in that G5 and up space that it's going to make much sense, or it's going to influence them and what they do. Again, this would be a very specific set of circumstances. If you're still in G4 and you're trying to punch up and take on some level 50 armadas and things, and people are showing up with like Voyagers, to those armadas, well, that's going to be a little bit different. Great, draw the fire from them so they don't die in the first hit. This could be helpful. This could be useful. Somebody asked about the firing pattern on said ship. Well, let's pull it over and let's take a look here. The particular firing pattern, it's got a bunch of weapons. It's got 4 weapons. So you've got 2 energy weapons that fire every single round, and you've got 2 kinetic weapons that fire every other round. So the first round, you're getting some shots off, not really a huge, big deal. Round 2, you get a few more shots off. If you take someone like an O'Brien or a Tolra or whoever who adds shots, okay, you can get some bigger numbers. But this, back to this ship ability here, weapon damage 5% is what you're starting at level 1. Well, nobody's starting at level 1, because the first thing you're going to do is at least take it to level 5. So every time the Armada hits you, you're boosting your weapon damage by 25% for 5 rounds. You get shot 2 or 3 times per round. You're adding 75% at least per round, and that's at tier 1 right out of the box. If you level this thing up a little bit and get it up to tier 2, tier 3, well, now suddenly you're adding a couple 100%. But I warn you, weapon damage is another stat that has huge, huge numbers from buildings and research being added to it. So this, while it may sound really good, like, oh my god, I'm getting 300% more weapon damage, unless you are a player, you know, in your high 30s, low 40s, not even sure what the level is to build this ship. What's your shipyard level requirement to build it? I should have looked at that on the site. What's my shipyard level? Is it 40? I'm guessing it's 40, right? Yeah. So you can't even use it in your 30s. So by the time you get to your 40s, you have a number of things that are already adding to your weapon damage. A lot of other researches. So getting an extra 35, 50, 75% per shot, 150, 200% per round for a couple rounds. All right, maybe by like round 4, round 5, you're up to 600, 700% more damage. That's not bad. But it's not like, oh my god, I'm doing like 7 times as much damage. It's like, no, I might be doing like 50 or 60% more damage because I've got so many other things that are already adding to this. It's going to get diluted significantly. So just be mindful of that before you go spending your $100 to get your new ship. If you haven't already bought it. It's like 4,000 people have already bought it. So firing patterns, decent again. And if you're adding shots with someone, like I said, like an O'Brien or Tolra, yeah, you can really start putting out some decent damage numbers. As for warp range, starts off not bad. Nothing super great, but as you get into some of the higher tiers, it does continue to scale up pretty well. And you could get to some of these higher numbers. So it's a ship that will last you going from G4 all the way through G6. It's 18 tiers. So there's some value to that there. But I think what most people are interested in getting this ship for is the refinery. There's also a lot of specific research for it, apparently. There's a whole Vindicator section now here in the Starship tree. Once you get out past your Monavine research, there's now a whole new section of research here. That's going to give you additional stat boosts, give it more shield health, and all kinds of stuff. Isolytic damage, and plenty of other things. But let's go look at the refinery, which you can't normally see without having the ship. However, I had some people who got the ship post screenshots, which I can share. There's the first refinery. There's 3 refinery options. Option number 1 here. This is officer sourcing. You've got the new Tolra along with Jadzia Dax, Benjamin Sisko, Sam Kirk. There's Picard in there. There's Riker in there. There's Changeling Kira in there, along with Nurse Chapel's also in there that I can see down here at the bottom as well. So this is additional sourcing for some of these officers that are, you know, Dax doesn't really have sourcing. Sisko and Changeling Kira have plenty of sourcing. Kirk's got some of the newer sourcing. The Enterprise E officers, not so much. So this is a new officer acquisition for a new officer and some recently released officers, and then a couple of older officers just to put that in there. The second bundle is your Fleet Commander Acquisition Bundle. This is the one that seems like it has the most value, because this particular one here gives you shards for all of the fleet commanders that you don't already currently have. So if you only have Kirk and Spock and you pull this bundle, you're getting 1 Lorca, 1 Sloane, 3 Locutus, 3 Seven of Nine, and 3 Janeway. every time you make the pull. Don't know what the cooldown is, don't know what the cost and the acquisition is of the bundle. You're also getting skill points for each of both Lorca and Sloane, as well as uncommon, rare, and epic fleet commander credits that you need to tier these officers up to their higher ranks. This is the one that people seem to be most interested in. First off, it's free-to-play sourcing for Lorca, and it's an accelerated sourcing for Sloane if you're not already getting him out of the Section 31 store, which requires running mirror waves and spending your currency on that instead of spending it on Dolomite or Syndicate XP. So, some good value there. Janeway has no free-to-play sourcing, so this is great value here. 7 is in the Incursions store. Locutus is in both Incursions and the Borg Cube event that we get sometimes between arcs. So he's got pretty good sourcing. She's got optional sourcing through the Incursions. Janeway has been a pay-only officer. And Lorca has been too since just being released last month. So the fact that they now have free-to-play acquisition that comes with additional currency to upgrade them and things like that seems pretty good. Barkman says that the free-to-play Lorca sourcing only starts when the ship is free-to-playable. Well, that's the thing there, right? So if you're talking about it takes, if the sourcing for the ship doesn't start next month until next month, and then it's going to take you 4+ months to unlock the ship, we're going to assume it's going to be 4 months at least. You're basically 6 months down the road before you even start this path, if you're going 100% free to play. Now you have your options. You can spend $100 and just buy Lorca, or you can spend $100 and you can buy the ship, and then start your acquisition of Lorca, as well as other people along the way, and get the skill points to go along with them. So that way, in 3 months or 100 days, you've unlocked Lorca, you've got a whole bunch of skill points at the ready, you've got a whole bunch of upgrade materials at the ready, and you're ready to just start tiering him up right away because you've been slowly acquiring him over the course of that 3 months. So yes, there's a path that will eventually lead free-to-play players to this activity. And then even for light spenders, excuse me, dinner keeps repeating on me a little bit. Even for light spenders, there's an option here to get multiple things for your investment. Instead of just spending that $100 and getting only Lorca, like I said, you can get the ship and then source Lorca as well as some of these other people and materials all at the same time. But wait, there's more. Because there's not 1, not 2, but 3 refinery bundles. And what's in the 3rd refinery bundle? Well, this is the one where you get the upgrade materials you need for the ship, as well as temporal disruptors, which will help you source some of those other temporal artifacts you might still be working on unlocking or upgrading. And you also get more Armada cooldown speed-ups, which if you don't have this Armada speed-up ability, and you've been playing the game for a while, should be something you should really focus on, because this is a tremendous value saver in terms of time getting that unlocked from the Wave store. And there are still some people I know who don't have it yet, and they're like, whatever, I don't want to spend my materials on that. I'm like, it saves you so much time, especially on FKR Armadas when they're 15-minute timers, and you're just sitting there just going, oh, yep, I don't have those speed ups, guys. It's like, great, you stay here. We're going to go run 5 other Armadas in the system, clean the rest of the whole system out, and then we'll come back to yours because, we got time because we've all got the speed up cooldown. So, thought the arena was the new ship sourcing. They haven't outlined what the actual path is. The path will come out next month, whether it's something that they add to the arena store and make it a cooldown that you have to pull something out of here, or whether it becomes an event. Haven't said. They haven't said that one bit. So No idea where the actual path will come. We'll find that out next month. So there's your new ship in a nutshell. Is it worth buying? It's up to you. I can't make that decision for you. All I can do is give you all the information about all the things it can do and how, again, some of the things it may say or whatnot might have diminishing returns on the actual value it's providing. It's got a decent refinery. Are you going to use it for the thing you're going to go out and kill armadas with? For a lot of players, probably not all that often, but maybe from time to time. It's got good warp range. That can certainly get you out there and get you somewhere instead of taking a Voyager or an NX-01 to go to one of these armadas that you can't reach otherwise. You're like, hey guys, I want to go set, an armada out here so I can get the starter chest credit. And it's like, well, great. Like, what do you got? Like, well, I can put Grush on my Voyager and get out there with my 50 million strength Voyager. Like, well, that's going to die in the first shot. So I guess we're doing all the lifting. Or, well, I can get there with my Vindicator because it's got warp 700 or whatever. And I can get all the way out here. Okay, great. That's cool because then you know what? You're also going to soak up all the damage for the first couple of rounds. And while we're carrying you and doing you a favor, we're also not going to incur a repair bill because you're going to be the one taking all the hits until you die, if you die. So I can see how people might think it for an alliance and be helpful, and you're shifting some of the burden and responsibility from some of the other players who are helping you not take as much of a penalty for that. But let's be realistic. The material value on it, if I'm helping out lower players by taking down one of these bigger armadas, if I blow up, I'm not worried about the repair bill on that. Maybe if I got to G6 and I was worried about Sigma costs. But then again, if I'm using G6 ships, none of this stuff is worrying me. I'm soloing these things. So the fact that you want to set one too, not really a concern. So again, I don't think there's a problem that it's actually solving. I don't think there's a problem to begin with. So what do we need it for? What's it solving for us? What's the purpose of having it for use and actually being out there? That's where I'm stuck. That's where I'm stuck. Scopely gave content creators the new ship last time. Why not this time? Just Q says they did give it. They did give it out to the NDA content creators. Lube was demonstrating it. Rev was demonstrating it earlier today. They took it, did their tier 1 stuff, showed off the refineries. I'm sure you can go watch their videos and whatnot. Retro wondering if the new ship helps with loot. You're not getting more loot. Like, doesn't have a type of loot bonus. It would help other players potentially. Like if I'm a G5 player and I'm helping a lower level player take one of these smaller ones, instead of me bringing my 500 million strength Sanctus and just crushing this armada, if I bring my 150 million strength Vindicator and I just absorb all the shots so that they can bring their pylums and tribunes and whatnot and take this stuff on, yes, I'm taking a lot less of their loot. It's going to be a little more evenly balanced, so it's helping them. So I guess that's the case. Would you buy a ship and upgrade it so that way you could help the weaker people in your alliance out? I would free-to-play grind that for sure to help the players below me get faster. Below me get faster. Would I spend $100 on that? Well, I wouldn't spend any money on anything, but that's a different topic. It's more useful for solo armadas if you don't want to get your other ships damaged. Solo armadas does have some practicality to it, right? If you're Defiant is a little weaker, your Talios is a little weaker, and you want something to absorb the hits from it so you can keep those ships there to keep their loot bonuses or whatever active. Okay. Let this thing be a meat shield and absorb some of that damage. I don't know. I'm just not seeing the problem that it's solving. So, it does have its own unique research at the end of the tree, the starship tree. It's after the uh, Monavine stuff. And what do we got here? More mitigation, more hull health, more longer taunting ability. Oh, boosting its damage. When you're using your taunt, you get additional damage bonuses against FKR armadas and things like that. Don't see anything here that adds to like a loot bonus or anything. So all you're really doing is buffing its ability to, you know, take and absorb more damage and then fire back with a reasonable amount of damage in and of itself. You're also repairing some of your own damage when you're fighting solos. So again, could keep you out there a little longer, I guess. And then eventually when you get to G6, you'll get some hazard resistance. I don't know. I'm not sold on it, I guess is the easiest way to say it. So they haven't created the problem yet. Well, there you go. Rusty says you ran 4 solos earlier and it survived the first 3. Okay. And that's probably what, tier 1, tier 2? Not really upgrading it yet? Bat says they just created the need for the ship because they added currency and a loop with the refinery. Yes. The reason to get the ship seems to be because you want the refinery options. And you can't have the refinery without the ship. So rather than creating a new currency, they have to go out and kill a new type of hostile. They created a new currency that you can only get by having a new ship, which we've seen before. This is loop version B, where it's get new ship, do new thing to unlock refinery option, instead of loop A, which is make new hostile, kill thing, turn in refinery. So more new currencies. Yeah, it's only tier 1. Okay, so yeah. Stewie thinks it's good for the Dominion solos because, again, the Defiant does a lot of damage but doesn't have a high hull boost. That's why we used to use the trick with the Defiant, right? Where you'd use Picard, Beverly, and Eurydice because she's constantly regenerating the shields. So that way the Defiant can keep getting shot because otherwise the Defiant doesn't last very long. It doesn't have a very high hull health. Now if you have this ship in that second slot, you've got your big ship, you've got your Defiant, and now you've got your Vindicator. Again, that could really be helpful. And again, I think this ship is really targeted at G4 players. This is targeted to help them kill more armadas, be more successful, get loot faster so they can level up faster so they can get through the 40s quicker because Scopely wants them to move up. That's why all the new content is 40 plus because they want players out of the 30s quicker. They want players into the 40s. They want everybody through the 40s and into the 50s because they want you to stay within PvP range of the guys who are in the 60s and 70s. If everybody's hanging out at 39 and 40, well, the guys who are 65 can't hit you anymore. And then they're going to stop leveling up because there's nobody for them to fight. And they're the ones who are spending money to do it.